What's up, Toronto commuters? So on the CBC News, they got this discussion going recently about cycling and driving in Toronto, and different solutions and they got our councillor Denzel Minden Wong, who sucks, and the mayor for Victoria, BC, which is my old hometown. And I guess it's kind of, like devil on one shoulder, angel on the other shoulder type of thing. They sort of, I don't know why they picked Denzel Minden Wong, because he's like the worst, he's like representing the worst in city council when it comes to transportation. And then they're holding up Victoria, BC as this example of awesomeness, where like, okay, like not really. Like they're doing, it's kind of silly because, I mean, Victoria still is not that great to bike in, and in BC in general they have helmet laws, so that sort of restricts the popularity a bit. And so for this interview, she's like standing in front of this like underused Victoria bike lane, which is part of their like very scant and sort of crappy little network. And she's like advocating for bike lanes and infrastructure and stuff. And so now the broadcaster is going to ask Denzel Minden Wong, so is it about infrastructure or is it about behavior, and even if people are behaving badly, at least if you have the infrastructure there, it sort of provides some safety and a guarantee, bulwark against, too many cyclist casualties and stuff like that. And I just want you to watch in the background here as Denzel Minden Wong answers. So, in contrast to the Victoria, BC footage where it's got basically no cyclists, but the mayor advocating for bike lanes, regardless of like who's breaking what traffic laws and stuff, versus this road here in Toronto behind this councillor who wants to deflect the conversation into discussions of how pedestrians are killing everybody by, zombieing around on their phones and stuff like that. And he's totally regressive and idiotic, but I just want you to watch in the background because you can see what's actually happening in Toronto, where you've got this bike lane that took 1/3 of a totally driver-centric road downtown and made it into a major cycling artery. You've got him complaining about crazy amounts of driving congestion downtown when the road behind him, which just happens to be like Richmond downtown, has extra capacity for drivers, even though it's been reduced by 1/3. And you can see him while he's complaining about reckless cyclists and pedestrians. You can see careful cyclists and pedestrians carefully yielding to or using their right-of-way going past drivers who are also being careful and yielding as appropriate. It's just so beautiful. This is such a perfect example of like, okay, what congestion, and also, okay, what terrible behavior. Just check this out.
That. Well, I think we also have to have a conversation about pedestrians on the roads, because a lot of them have been hurt as well, and what do we do about that? I think there are other pieces that we should consider. So the role of technology in cycling and the pedestrians. So people have they text in their cars, which is a huge problem.
See, you got this driver stops and yields, cyclists slowing down to like make sure it's all good and going past. Well, he's talking about people being all sketchy. And this other pedestrian walking past with his dog, making sure not to run into Denzel Minden Wong.
Are cyclists putting themselves at risk when they have their earbuds in their ears? Pedestrians who aren't paying attention because they're texting, or they're not paying attention when they're crossing the street. There are a lot of elements here that we have to consider. Certainly, bike lanes are.
She's on her phone, and then this other woman in the bike lane, she's like doing something while she's cycling along. This other driver's just doing fine, but the woman who walked past while she's on her phone somehow didn't run into the camera crew.
Are something that we'd like to do, but in the city of Toronto, congestion's a real problem, and when you
Oh yeah, look at all that congestion. Just look at that. Oh my God, it's just packed. Richmond is just packed. Look at all that. Oh my God, it's bumper to bumper.
Take out that capacity, you are making it harder and harder to get around the city of Toronto, and congestion is a real concern.
Yeah, boy, it's so hard for these drivers right there to get past those cyclists who have poached 1/3 of this road.
Is congestion being a real concern? Lisa, what do you think when you hear that?
Well, what I think and what I know and what we know from others.
So this is the mayor of Victoria. Just you gotta just ignore this. Just ignore that she's got like a barrette in her hair. Well, she also obviously has. It's kind of like the hair version of wearing like suspenders and a belt at the same time. Like clearly you have the hair gel to make this happen. Clearly you have the scissors to make this happen. And you're not a child, but so there's no, it doesn't make any sense. You're not at the hairdresser's, so why are you the mayor with a barrette in your hair? I can only say, as a previous resident of Victoria, guys, this is just a Victoria thing. I'm not sure. Ultimately, I don't know what the answer is to this kind of weird style. I had very strange style when I was in Victoria, and so I just, don't be too hard on us, but those I know who have stayed have just gotten it's sort of like weird but dowdy at the same time is the look, and I don't understand it. I'm just glad to be in Toronto, but you'll notice it's like, okay, great, she's in Victoria, she's got this great two-way bike thing that has like a cement barrier, unlike the one on Richmond, which is like so trusting. We've just got those buffers, and when I'm on it, it's fine. Like there's no real problem with the drivers. It's really cool. But so here she is, not a cyclist in sight.
Cities is when you build a complete network that's safe for people of all ages and abilities, car congestion actually starts to go down. So the research that we've been drawing on, about 60% of people would cycle. Would get out of their cars if it was safe for them to do so. So what we're doing here as quickly as possible is building what's called a minimum grid so that we connect people from the places they live to the places they work to the places their kids go to ballet lessons or childcare, so that people can get from A to B to C to D safely. And what that actually does over time, the research shows, is it decreases car congestion because what's called a minimum grid so that we connect people from the places they live to the places they work to the places their kids go.
Right here. Like, look at this. This is just fantastic. I mean, you gotta hand it to the CBC. They've gotten some good footage of this is a complete street here in Toronto, right? It's Spadina. I used to hate Spadina and kind of avoid it. I'm like, come on, this isn't a complete street. It's not working. But I use it all the time now, and really, it's like, it's fine. It's good. Okay. It does kind of suck still. But when she's talking about this stuff, what you see in the background is the reality in Toronto of like modern day, even the spots where it's bogus, because we've got all these reinforcements of that we are at least considering everything to be a complete street. In the spots that are kind of crappy driver-centric rough patches right now, at least like in the downtown, but also like increasingly in the suburbs too, you see drivers adjusting their behavior to a more complete streets type of thing. And you've still got the bullying going on, but it's not mainstream anymore. It's amazing.
Lisa, let me jump in. Lisa, let me jump in. Sorry, we're running out of time here on News Network, but we're going to continue the conversation on Facebook. News Network, stay with us.
I don't know what it is, but this guy's lips just pissed me off. I think they're just doing his makeup wrong. He's like, it's just too, like, I refuse to believe that is your lip color there, buddy. With this super extreme, like, I don't know.
The conversation does continue on Facebook for those who want to continue to listen.
With this guy's upper lip, where doing the makeup that just makes the shadows fall in a weird. His face just looks messed up, but just his mouth, really. It's just, you know, and of course, like, I'm one to talk, but yeah, I'm always curious to see, you know, what the news media is going to do with transportation stuff and cycling stuff. And it's just funny that they picked Denzel Wong of all people to represent Toronto in this discussion. And of course, all he wants to talk about is like dangerous, distracted pedestrians. And I can't wait for somebody to like actually cause an accident by running a red light or running a stop sign slowly on their bike, or like walking using their cell phone or something like that, like an actual bad accident. Because I mean, at some point it will happen. You know, it probably has happened a few times or something. But it's so funny. They're always talking about this, like these terrorists on two legs or on two wheels, you know, and every single time somebody's killed, it's like, no, it's a car was used. Okay, buddy.